Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Casavon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Here. Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Davis? Here. Mr. Fitzmaurice? Mr. Doherty? Here. Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Here.
Thank you. This time I would respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak before the commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card so that we have your name and address for the record. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present and 5 minutes to rebut. Lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it any further, we would ask that you leave the building as if you go into the back foyer. It does echo into the chamber. At this time, we would ask you to rise with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Richardson.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you with bowed down head but lifted hearts to say thank you for all the blessings that we've recognized in our lives. And we thank you for this day. We thank you for each and every one of us in this building. We thank you for those commissioners and all those that we represent, Heavenly Father. We thank you for those that's in the audience and all the citizens that we also serve. And gracious Father, a special blessing upon all of our military personnel, veterans, law enforcement officers. And Lord, bless them in a mighty way as we celebrate tomorrow, 4th of July. In all these blessings, we ask that you also be with all of our families here and everywhere. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. In our packets are the minutes of the June 5th, 2018 meeting. I would ask commissioners to please review them, and I'll entertain any motions. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, sir. The minutes are very straightforward and clear. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments or questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Helen, are there any cases wishing postponement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Number 2 on the agenda, 2018-1026 ZC, and it's a request to postpone for 60 days.
60 days. Any other cases?
No.
Thank you. We'll get to that one first, but this is a public hearing. The public is encouraged to speak on behalf of or in opposition to any of the cases. Zoning change request cases, applications for a proposed change of zoning district or amendments to the land use ordinance requiring review and recommendation of approval by the Zoning Commission before action by the Parish Council are as follows. And the first case is a postponement, so we will take that one. 2018-1026-ZC, existing zoning, A6, multiple family residential district, proposed zoning, A1 industrial district, the parcel 6.873 acres, the petitioner, the Millennium Group, Guy W. Olano, the owner, the Millennium Group, Guy W. Olano. The parcel is located on the west side of Harborview Court, north of Lakeview Drive, being lot 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 24, Oak Harbor Boat Service Area, Ward 9, District 13. Staff recommending postponement for 60 days.
No, I spoke to Mr. Olano as well as, other people, members of the Millennial Group. And if you want, there's someone here to address the zoning commissioners as to the reason for their request.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here or a representative? Thank you.
My name is Guy Olano, and we're requesting that we get a 60-day extension. We've been dealing with Ms. Lambert, and we think we can resolve this issue without the necessity of this change that we had requested.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the postponement?
Yes, sir. Hello, my name is.
Wait a minute, sir. Excuse me. Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is James Burns. I live at 226. I'm presently building. We have a bunch of people here that are homeowners in the area, and I'd like to have them raise their hand. Can everybody raise their hand, please? Thank you. Now, we're opposing this because they want to do a 6A, which is a multi-dwelling.
Excuse me, sir. Understand, all we're going to speak on in the opposition is postponement is opposition of the postponement, not the case
I'm in
merits themselves.
opposition to postponement. We want to settle it today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the postponement? Yes, sir.
My name is Scott Martin. I live at 240 Lakeview Drive, and we've got all our people here together because this concerns us a lot. Not only Lakeview residents, residents of Clipper Estates, residents of Eden Isles, and residents of Oak Harbor Marina Drive. We're here, we come to this, we put up signs, someone tears them down. Who? I didn't follow for a turnip truck. I know who tore our signs down, ripped them in half. We're here today, we need to talk about it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the postponement?
Hey, my name's David Stewart, 228 Lakeview Drive. You can see we've got a big group of people here. We've got a large subdivision, a lot of people, and we're all in opposition of turning this, which is already used as commercial because they're storing a lot of boats and things out there, but we are in opposition of the project, and we do think that it needs to be settled tonight.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Are you going to speak in opposition to the postponement, sir?
No.
Okay, then please sit down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diana Small. I live at 250 Lakeview Drive, and we need to settle this now.
Thank you.
My name is Marcel Radasta. I live at 249 Lakeview Drive. Rather than have each and every one of us come up here, I think that if I just say, anybody in opposition here, raise your hand and show that we are here and that we want this resolved today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Recognizing that several of you are in opposition to the postponement, unless there's any particular other information, then we'll ask the petitioner to come up and he can rebut as to why he feels that he would like 60 days for which to postpone to resolve. Yes, sir.
With all due respect, we're just going to withdraw the zoning request. So we don't need 60 days. We'll withdraw it and refile under another designation.
Very well.
Yeah.
No further action required. The petitioner withdrew the case. Helen, that indeed was the petitioner, to your knowledge?
Yeah.
Okay. Case has been withdrawn. If you would like a few moments to exit the building, given several of the citizens are here, we thank you. Question was asked whether or not the commission would vote on anything. No, the petitioner does have the right to withdraw the case. Petitioner has exercised that right, therefore we have no case at this time in front of the commission on this property. We're going to continue at this point with the first case, 917-ZC. Existing zoning A3 Suburban District, proposed zoning PF1 Public Facilities District. The parcel is located on the west side of Allen Road, north of Miller Road, being 57209 Allen Road, Slidell, Ward 8, District 14. The parcel, 3.44 acres. The petitioner, Jeffrey Shane. The owner, Faith Bible Church of Slidell, Alfred N. Young, Council District 14. This was postponed at the June 5th, 2018 meeting. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering that the objective of the request is to bring the existing use in compliance with the appropriate zoning district. Note that the site is currently developed with a church, which was originally approved under conditional use permit. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the request to the zoning change to PF1 Public Facilities District.
Thank you. Mr. Shane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Commission. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent the owner and petitioner, Faith Bible Church of Slidell. In the second week of June, as well as late as last Thursday, pursuant to discussions that we have been having with the residents, we committed to a postponement of the case this evening. I reiterated that request to Councilman Smith last week and also to Commissioner Randolph today. I do see that the residents are here this evening and do not know if their inclination is still to postpone, but when this first came up in mid-June, we were still a good bit apart as it relates to the content of a proposed deed restriction in connection with this case. So I think I feel an obligation, and I'm very comfortable in saying that the petitioner will stand committed to postpone the case this evening if that is in fact the will of the residents.
And Mr. Shane, if so, is there a timeline you'd like, 1 month, 2 months?
Ms. Maurice, who is here this evening, and I think have both agreed that under no circumstance would this case not be heard August 3rd, or August 7th, excuse me, next month's meeting, even if we're still in disagreement as it relates to the deed restriction. So perhaps before proceeding, it may be wise to see how the residents feel in this regard.
Thank you. Is there anyone in support? Yes, ma'am. To postpone for 1 month.
Good evening, Commissioner. I'm actually here to support a postponement, but
again, for the record, if you'll say
for the record, Alyssa Maurice Anderson. I'm representing Mr. and Mrs. Calvin Trigg, who reside at 57223 Allen Road, Slidell, Louisiana. I am here to support a postponement of the proceedings. I do have an issue with postponement for 1 month, and I would like to note that there was no such agreement that this matter would be concluded by August of this year. In fact, I note for the record today that Mr. and Mrs. Trigg agree that a continuance is warranted in the matter, but we want to be transparent regarding the need for the postponement. The last 2 times we've come before you to indicate that we've been attempting to work with Faith Bible Church on an amicable solution for the potential rezoning. On Wednesday, June 27, 2018, my client attended a hearing regarding the enforcement of the zoning regulations that exist with respect to the current zoning and the conditional use permit under which Faith Bible Church is operating. They were required to construct a fence. That fence has not been constructed, and an ALJ was designated to hear the matter on Wednesday. And Mrs. Drake appeared at that hearing in order to ensure that the matter did in fact proceed on a separate track, as that was not implicated by the discussions that we'd had at the community meeting. When counsel for the church, Mr. Shane, realized that Ms. Trigg was present and she intended to oppose the continuance of those proceedings, Mr. Shane threatened Ms. Trigg that there would be no further dialogue regarding the rezoning if she in fact supported or opposed his request for postponement of that proceeding. And she indicated that she intended to oppose his request for continuance. When Mrs. Trigg told Mr. Shane to do what he needed to do and turned away from him, Mr. Shane grabbed Ms. Trigg's arm to...
In all due respect,
to stop
what
her.
we're interested in is the opposition to postponement
Yes,
and or a timeline to
I
the
understand.
postponement.
I'm trying to lay the foundation, Commissioner Manella, that we have attempted to send deed restrictions that we were supposed to be working on. We don't have a common agreement as to what those deed restrictions were intended to accomplish. Mr. Shane clearly does not have an understanding that the folks here who opposed the rezoning had more issues than that needed to be addressed in those documents than he apparently was willing to provide for. So in addition to these events that I've described, on the next day, Mr. Shane forwarded me a revised version of the proposed deed restrictions, wherein he essentially removed all of the requests that we made be included. Long and short of it is, we have reached a point, I believe, of impasse that we now believe we need to proceed for a full hearing on this matter, and we would request a postponement of 60 days in order to do that. Everyone has been working to reach an amicable resolution. We now need to change gears to make sure that we can fully oppose this request. And I would just like to reiterate that I represent Mr. and Mrs. Trigg. I don't represent the entirety of the group. And so I believe some of them are interested in speaking with respect to this postponement, and will need to articulate their own positions. But Mr. and Mrs. Trigg are seeking the postponement of at least 60 days of the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the postponement?
Hi, Brandy Webb.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I was just trying to clarify. Are you speaking in opposition to the postponement, or are we actually seeking a postponement?
Well, you can give the comments. Mr. Shane had asked for a postponement of 1 month. So if you're in opposition to 1 month, by all means, speak. You've said you would like 2 months.
Correct.
So that's
Okay.
very appropriate. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brandy Webb. I live at 57100 Allen Road, Slidell, 70461. I am in favor of a postponement as part of the rest of the group. I'd like you guys to support a postponement today if that's at all possible. We have been unable to reach an amicable agreement. Every time we think we might be making some inroads, we don't. And we need time to prepare for a full hearing. I haven't previously been represented by an attorney, and I need time to find counsel. So, if we could get 2 months, I think that would give us adequate time to fully be ready for this.
Respectfully, when you're talking about the full hearing, you're talking about in front of the commission as we are tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi.
Sir.
Thomas Bradford, 57217 Allen Road. I'm a next door neighbor to Word of Faith Church, and I too would like a 60-day extension to this so I can prepare my legal defense as well. I don't believe that we're going to come to any agreement with Faith Bible Church and their representative because of their tactics. I would like to see 60-day continuance.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to speak relative to, yes, sir.
How you doing this evening? My name is Donald Laurent. I'm the next door neighbor to the church. And ongoing situation, we're just kind of getting tired of the excuses. They don't have money to do anything, and they want to change the zoning, and it's suspect as to why they want to change it. It's just, and you know, every month we're up here with these hearings. I don't see anything going forward. And it's my hope that you rule against them and deny it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Shane, 5 minutes to rebut.
Well, once again, we seem to be in disagreement, meaning the residents and myself and my client. I guess first let me start by saying that because I committed to postpone the case, I don't think it's appropriate for me to say, let's try it tonight. I'm really not interested in postponing it for 60 days. I don't know that there was a hard agreement to only postpone it until August. I find it interesting that the email I know that I sent in the second week of June, because I was on vacation, to their attorney, and also the email I sent last Thursday confirming the postponement, I got no response. I got no response that 60 days were needed. And I know it's not the issue before this group, but because I think I was defamed in some manner by the comments that were made, I did not threaten anyone at last Wednesday's enforcement hearing. I did clearly tell the lady that if in fact we were not going to postpone the enforcement hearing, I did not see any reason for us to continue to work forward on a deed restriction, because I felt it was contrary to the spirit of what we've been trying to do with a case that was filed on January 16th of this year. Also, I totally rebuff this notion that I grabbed someone's arm. I do recollect that there was some sort of incidental touching, because I remember Mrs. Trigg saying something to me about "don't touch me." It happened right here at the in front of the bar here. It was not a hostile or aggressive touching. I mean, I felt like the way it was represented to you, ladies and gentlemen, it was as if I had assaulted someone. Ron Hagan was standing about 5 feet from me, and at least in my view, it simply wasn't the case. But I realize that's not what the Zoning Commission wants to hear this evening. So with that having been said, my feeling at this point, I'm astounded by all of this, is that number one, if we are going to postpone it, I hope the Commission sees fit to hear the case on August the 7th. It's not as if this case just hit the deck 30 days ago and people have had no knowledge of it and haven't had an opportunity. And the preparation for a hearing is not so extensive that I don't see how, I guess technically we'd be about 34 days from now would not be enough. Number two, if that's not acceptable, you know, maybe the Commission ought to think about moving forward this evening. That's your decision, not mine. But again, I came to the meeting committed to the postponement, and I think I certainly remain committed to the postponement. I want that to be loud and clear, because that was the representation that I made in mid-June and also as late as Thursday of last week. And I think that that is fair. They did not have an expectation that this case would be heard tonight, and I think it would be inappropriate for me to proceed in that regard.
Are you prepared to proceed tonight if the Commission so wills it?
If the Commission so wills it, I didn't come prepared, but yes, sir, I'm a big boy, and I understand that I'm the petitioner, and every time I come before this Commission, in fact, a few months ago, I got a reminder that when you come, you better be prepared to go, and so, yes, sir.
Is it correct this case has been lingering for almost 6 months?
Well, I think actually the first public, it was filed on January 16th. The first public hearing was on March 6th. So we've got March, April, May, June. This is the 5th month.
Plus extensive community meetings?
Meetings on March 22nd and also April 26th. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You have 5 minutes as well to rebut.
Judy Trigg, 57223 Allen Road. I'd like to clarify the incident.
I'm not interested in the commission, ma'am, in all due respect. What we're here to do is discuss the case. If there's
Well-
anything else that may have, if there was any personal issues relative to it, I would bring them up with the appropriate parties. This commission does not have the authority to address those, and nor will we entertain those. However, we will entertain anything relative to the case itself.
Well, when you said rebuttal, I was trying to rebut something that Mr.
Well,
Shinn said.
we're interested in rebuttal, and I will say it one more time, is relative to the facts of this case. It's the only thing this commission is interested in.
Well, it is relative to the facts of the case.
Ma'am, if you don't have anything else to say, I will dismiss you from the podium at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, I would say, thank you for giving me the additional time to speak. This is a matter that has been pending. This group has been working in the spirit of cooperation in getting to an amicable resolution and not focused on preparation for a complete opposition, a hearing in complete opposition. I think it would be inequitable and a denial of due process to proceed without the opportunity in order to prepare. And I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you.
So again, the question I asked Mr. Shane, do you feel you and or the people you represent or persons you represent are prepared to speak on this case tonight?
No, Commissioner Manila, we are not prepared to speak this evening as we have been focused on modifying the documentation that we were actually working toward presenting or entering into by agreement that would have resolved this process. And frankly, we're not in a position to work on both at the same time.
It is well your position that a postponement this evening was warranted and had been discussed to some degree?
Absolutely, Commissioner Manila. And that what I will further reiterate is that I had worked on behalf of the TREGs to get the documentation in place and then consulted with these additional folks who certainly have a stake in these matters to see if we could come to a consensus among the community that we could then present the documents to Mr. Shane and to the commission and resolve these matters. We have received markups of the document that basically tell us that we are at an impasse and that it is necessary for us to proceed on a litigated path. And we would ask you to allow us the opportunity to prepare and make sure that we are ready to go at the commission's behest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, Mr. Laurent.
My comment is simply that each meeting that we have held trying to resolve this matter was more why the church should get the zoning change and not take into the whole of the situation why we're against it and why it should not be granted. We try to work with the church and everybody to get things done, but it's always why we should give in and not them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? This time we would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
I was at that meeting in April. And at that time, there were a few of us that were there. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was verbalized that these are the items we will accept if it is written down, and we will sign it. You know, we will agree to these items, and Mr. Shane was there, and then your representative, you folks were there. And yet, I'm still trying to figure out Mrs. Webb. Could you come up, please? Thank you. Give me the one specific thing that everybody's against.
The PF1 facility, having the zoning changed to PF1.
Okay.
That's the
Now-
one thing.
Okay.
Do you want to know why?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because this is a residential area. These are all homes. There are 4 other churches and other vacant property that's all zoned residential and has been in compliance, and everybody's been in harmony for the last, 20 years. And if this PF1 gets changed here, which this particular church is related to a Faith Bible Church in Covington that has a drug rehab center run out of it. And they have the PF1 certification, or whatever it's called, zoning. They have that zoning. I can't help but think that that's what the big plan is here. And we're sitting around, saying, I don't want a drug rehab center 100 yards from my home. I've got children that I'm bringing up. I put my life savings into this property. My property's value is going to drop fast the second that goes up. The whole notion has been that they need PF1 in order to, in case of natural disaster, to rebuild.
Be able to rebuild.
To rebuild or to be insured.
Okay.
So we said, okay, let's do deed restrictions. If we can do deed restrictions and limit it to where it stays a church without an outreach program that allows for all of these drug rehab centers. It could be a bus station. It could be a police station. PF1 opens the door to everything right there, and I'm 100 yards away. Most of these people are next door. They're next door. And this has been an organization that hasn't complied with the, what's it called? Conditional use zoning that they got 10 years ago. They haven't complied. They can't occupy a 10,000 square foot building on their property because they never complied with those zoning requirements. Yet this is still in consideration. Okay? So this is the only people who benefit from this PF1 zoning change is the church itself. It is detrimental to every single piece of property. There's nothing positive for anybody else that lives on that street that's in that area for their property or their well-being.
May I ask
And
Ms.
it hasn't been articulated what the big plan is. So we said, okay, let's do the deed restrictions. And deed restrictions, we wanted it to be, it's either a church that's truly acting as a church or a residence. That's the 2 uses of the property, which would give them what they need in order to rebuild if a natural disaster or a flood would happen. And he's redlined everything that we've requested, which is what we simply stated in all the meetings. And we're being, portrayed as obstructionists, as Hatfields and the McCoys or whatever, and that's not the case at all. I mean, they came in with an attorney right out the get-go. If the church would have just gone to the neighbors and said, hey, look, we're having this problem here, I'm sure something could have been worked out. We're not unreasonable people, and we've enjoyed having these churches around us. But one church is going to turn into 2, which is going to turn into 3, which will turn into 4, and then there's 10 acres of land that's for sale that could go the same way, and all of a sudden we've got an industrial complex next door to our homes.
Okay, Mrs. Webb, may I ask Mr. Shane a question now? Mr. Shane, was part of that deed restriction no drug rehab center?
Not per se, but I think it's pertinent for me to read to you. In fact, you were copied at the last community meeting on April 26th. I believe there were 5 commissioners present. Commissioners Manella, Davis, Doherty, Drum, and Randolph. And my recollection and my notes, and I'm not suggesting that either of those are accurate just because they're mine, but I distinctly remember after I thought we reached a consensus, me restating what was to happen from there. And what was to happen from there was that I was to put together a deed restriction that would allow for a church use only, but there were also some concerns that maybe there might be a few provisions in the CB district that should be incorporated into the deed restriction as well. So I drafted a deed restriction, and to answer your specific question, it says the following. If when and only while subject property is zoned PF1, the only permitted uses of subject property shall be only one of the permitted uses in PF1 as found in section 130-1252, paren 4, close paren, of the St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code. Said one permitted use being only churches, temples, and synagogues greater than 10,000 feet. I felt that that language, which literally comes from the code, precluded any other type of use, drug rehab, anything else. And if staff feels that you could put a drug rehab in a facility that is a church, temple, or synagogue greater than 10,000 square feet, I am happy to add the language, no drug rehab facility, because that is certainly not my client's intent, and that's not in the spirit of the discussion that we had on April 26th. So I really feel comfortable that the deed restriction that was tendered reflected our discussion that evening until I got a response or red line to the deed restriction, which in my view was a restatement for the most part of all the conditions of the 2007 conditional use permit. And furthermore, it was a modification of the current Unified Development Code in that it diminished some of the rights that you have if in fact the property is zoned PF1. By way of example, it reduced the maximum lot coverage from 50% to 40%. By way of example, if I remember correctly, it limited to the total number of buildings to 2. And there were other examples as well. It attempted to control the hours under which construction could occur if new facilities were built on site. It required the submission of plans, if I remember correctly, as it relates to future improvements and a variety of things. So, yes, I did strike all of those things because for those of you that were in attendance that evening, I would be interested to see what your recollection and notes were as it relates to what our consensus was when we left that night.
Mr. Trey. Mr. Trey.
I'm Calvin Trigg.
Yes, sir. How long have you been in your house, sir?
I don't own the property. My wife is the owner of the property, and I've been at that location for approximately 8 years.
Okay. Was the church there when you moved in?
Yes, it was.
You knew it was a church?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bradford?
Yes.
Yes, sir. How long have you been on your property?
Since 2004.
Okay. Was that church there when you moved in?
Yes, it was there.
You knew it was a church?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say
Yes,
one
sir.
thing? It was a church under a different pastor. Not this particular pastor that's there now. So
Okay.
it has changed ownership.
Okay. So can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Do you find I don't know, it's too touchy. Never mind, thank you.
Come on, let's have it.
Do you find the functioning of this church a drastic difference than when the other pastor had it?
Up until the zoning change, it was all the same. It was just a promise to do things that never came true. You know, the other owners built this building and poured the concrete at 12 o'clock at night with 30 cement trucks.
That was noisy.
Okay? And it's just a continuation of what's going on under the new owners.
Okay. Thank you. And Mrs. Webb. Same question to you. How long have you been in your house? I know your husband's just come back from overseas, is that correct? Or
He's
coming
not back yet. No, he's not.
going to come back and retire to this property?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And when did you purchase this, please?
I grew up there. My parents live at 57092 Allen Road. So
Okay.
I grew up there, moved away for a number of years, and then for 15 years, and then just came back 3 years ago
Okay.
and built a house on that property that has been family property.
Okay.
Okay? Built a home, and then acquired another 5 acres of property that's adjacent, nearby.
Okay. Do you have any problems with that Lutheran church that's across the street?
No. And as long as we never had a problem with any of the churches until this change is being requested. This is a dangerous precedent. This PF1 is a dangerous precedent.
Thank you.
And the other churches,
Mrs. Webb, thank
may I
you.
answer your question though about the other Lutheran church?
You answered it. You said you had no problems.
I had no problems with them.
Thank you. Let me see. Who among your group disavows the verbal agreement you had, which was then written down and disagreed to? Was there a specific sentence or paragraph or lack of that caused you to do that?
Yes, Commissioner Drum, there are a number of things that were articulated during the meeting, during the community meeting on April 26th. One of the suggestions that was made was that we could possibly have a path forward by the utilization of deed restrictions. With those deed restrictions, we would incorporate certain provisions from the CBF1 designation. Mr. Shane and his client said they would be amenable to looking at what it is we were proposing, because at the time, I need to step back. The rules of that meeting that were established were that attorneys were not supposed to speak, that it was supposed to be a community meeting. So I did not come there prepared with a list of items that we wanted to see changed as it relates to CBF1. That being said, after having gone back and looking at CBF1 and PF1, frankly, one of the issues is that fencing is required both by the prior conditional use permit as well as if they actually want to change the designation to PF1. The church has not abided or lived by those requirements of the pre-existing ordinance. So when you ask, was the church there? When my family moved to 57223 Allen Road, there was a single building that was known as Faith Bible Church. 2 temporary buildings were added after 2005 with Katrina.
Is that the large one in the back?
No, in fact, the large one in the back was supposedly built to replace the 2 of the buildings, and there were a number of, not only a worship center, as the drawings will tell us, not only a worship center, but showers and housing for people to stay over, that no traffic impact study was done because there was a replacement of the buildings. But as I appreciate it, there has been no occupancy of that building, despite the fact that we see lights on every day in that building. The fence still has not been erected. They are proceeding to fight against having that fence erected. And to the extent that zoning restrictions are put in place that would be actionable in court, the problem is that if they claim they have no money for a fence, they can't meet or they can't meet the other requirements or pay damages. So one of the things that was requested in the deed restrictions is that the community, the adjacent property owners, be notified before there's a construction that's placed on the property so that we could determine whether there's a potential violation of the deed restrictions. Well, if the representations that have been made at these community meetings are in fact accurate, these people should have no problem adding that to the deed restrictions. In addition, the zoning requirements call for an opaque fence or designation where there's where the property abuts a residence, an A3 residence, in order to continue to preserve the value of the surrounding properties. These people have maintained their homes.
Yes, may I
For
ask you
decades.
to, you more than answered my question.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. I know we have two other people that want to talk, and I hope you don't, I didn't mean to take up all the time. Usually I keep my mouth shut, but in this case, I couldn't do it. I would like to make a motion. We have been at this now for 5 months. If we delay it 2 more months, wars have ended quicker than this. So I'm going to make a motion that we have this on April 3rd. I also would like,
August?
I mean, it's August, I'm
August
sorry.
7th.
Yeah, sorry, I'm old, my mind slips.
7th.
August 3rd, and
How about the 7th?
whatever that date is. And I would like, if at least the 2 lawyers to get together with the input of their individuals that are against this or for it. And I would like to see this back here the next time we come. That's my motion.
So your motion, respectfully, Commissioner Drum, is to postpone for 1 month
1 month.
and then to petition the commission to hear the case.
That is correct. Whether they are agreeing or not on anything, I want to hear this.
Motion by Commissioner Drum to postpone for 1 month.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I'm going to agree with the previous 2 commissioners as well. I'm a little concerned at this point here. As we all know, this is a zoning issue. It seems like, and I appreciate the public's zest to try to get as much information, I really do. But you're almost diving into an area where you're talking about zoning and planning at the same point. And that's just not how the process works. And I do appreciate as well Jeff asking for an extension on this. So that's just my opinion on that. I think we're kind of killing time a little bit. I think we just it's taken much too long to try to get this process done. I mean, when I first read this case, and I was there in March for the meeting, it seemed like things were much better then than they are even now. And that's just not, something's not working right. And again, as far as I'm concerned, I was ready to make a decision tonight. I'm not going to tell you how I was going to vote, but I was ready to make a decision tonight. But please, get together, both sides, get together, and in a month's time, get here, and let's get it done. Thank you.
Commissioner Randolph.
In all fairness and in goodwill to the House and to the petitioner and the residents, we did engage and we were in attendance to both community meetings. Initially was a challenge. The second one was more amicable. And like Mr. Davis, I thought we had come to more of a closer resolve, not so much as an impasse. And as that being stated, with all of the input that you all have shared, how long you've been in that area, and I'm from the area as well, not directly, but from Slidell, very familiar with the area. The deed restriction was a very important piece. And it is very, very important that you all move forward with coming up with an amicable deed restriction to move forward with this. Otherwise, without any dialogue, without any input, what's going to happen is we commissioners are going to look at the facts, and we're going to vote based on that. And we have the staff recommendation, and we're trying our best to give this enough TIME and dialogue so that we can really bring this thing to a close. So I second that motion, and we're ready to vote.
Is there any further discussion? I just comment, I concur with all the commissioners that were there, particularly those that spoke, Commissioner Drum, Davis, and Randolph. It's been given plenty of time, so I too support postponement for 1 month, next month to be presented. Needless to say, if the parties don't like whatever this commission is going to rule, you can appeal it to the council, and they'll decide. As you also know, the commission has no impact whatsoever on a deed restriction. We're not a party to it. However, as a citizen hearing all the dialogue that we have heard, I strongly recommend, if that is truly the intention of the church to do what was stated in the community meetings, and it's the intention of the community, the residents, that some of those are acceptable and that they uphold the commitments that are made, that then an agreement can be reached. But I would also echo the comments that I would strongly recommend to the commission that we hear the case and vote on it next month. That being said, we have a motion by Commissioner Drum to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Motion carries. Case will be postponed for 1 month.
Thank you. And we'll give you a few moments to exit the chamber. (2018-1046-ZC), existing zoning A4 single-family residential district, proposed zoning A4 single-family residential district and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel is located on the east side of Maple Street, being lots 10 and 11, Square 4, Beverly Hills subdivision, Ward 8, District 14. The parcel, 5,500 square feet. The petitioner, Elijah Johnson. Owner, Dragonfly Enterprise, Inc., Council District 14. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the request for a manufactured housing overlay designation.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Yes. Ma'am, if you'd come to the podium, state your name and address and the reason for it.
Good afternoon. Elisha Johnson, 108 Shamrock Drive, Slidell, Louisiana, 70461.
The reason that you would, for the request, ma'am?
To become a homeowner.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request?
My name is Jamie Lindsay, 81116 Highway 1083, Bush, Louisiana, 70431. And for the mobile home being put there, I think that in the Beverly Hills area, the Beverly Hills Annex area, on this street, it's a perfect location for the variance, being with the existing buildings that are currently on that block. I do have maps of that area, As of right now, there are 2 mobile homes on that block, 2 manufactured homes, a small apartment building, and also some type of storage unit building. And I have maps of that information. I don't want to take your time. I just thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, I motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Davis.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments, questions of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote.
Ms. Casabon, would you like to vote? Motion carries.
Thank you. 2018-1059-ZC, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District and Rural Overlay. The parcel 4.501 acres. The petitioner, Nicholas Henry and Gilda Bodine Losacero. Owner, Nicholas Henry and Gilda Bodine Losacero. Parcels located on the west side of Gulch Street and on the north side of North Street, being 70225 Gulch Street, Abita Springs, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses and may also include agricultural uses. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering the large size of the property, which is 4.5 acres, and the rural character of the area. Note that the objective of the request is to allow for the construction of an agricultural building on the property. Staff recommends approval for the request of a rural overlay.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Sir, if you please state your name and address and the reason for the request, and you can
Yes,
move
sir.
the microphone up to you. If you like.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Charlie Clark. I live at 21458 Caswell Drive in Mandeville. And with me today is Mr. Nicholas Lacicero. And he lives at 70225 on Gulf Street. He is hearing impaired, and I'm here representing him as a neighbor and friend tonight. So you heard the brief. He has a 4.5 parcel of land. Most of the areas, as my property is about 5.5 acres. We have to build on an acre, as you know. Most of the places around there are in fact rural, and we've been around there for a long time in the neighborhoods. He's looking to put an agricultural building there, store his equipment. He does have a lot of equipment to store. So his petition is that he would like to get the rural overlay over to A2 Suburban.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve. It's appropriate. Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Willie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 2018-1060-ZZ, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 1.306 acres. The petitioner, Lola Lagman. The owner, Lola Lagman. The parcel is located on the south side of Clifford Singletary Road, east of P. Kennedy Road, Ward 6, District 11. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff would like to note that considering the size of the property, 1.306 acres, only a manufactured home as a guest house limited to a maximum of 1,000 square feet would be allowed on the property, in the event that the zoning commission is in favor of the zoning change. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval for the request for a manufactured housing overlay.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Ma'am, if you please come to the podium, state your name and address and the reason for the request.
My name is Lola Lagman, and I'm the property owner. I wish to replace a mobile home that is on this property that was purchased in 1980.
So you're not going to add another one, you're just going to replace the existing?
Yeah, the one that's there now will be tore down, and a new one will be brought into its place.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Make the motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Dougherty.
Thank you. Helen, if this mobile home that is on the property now has been removed, doesn't that do away with the 1,000-foot restriction?
Well, if it's an existing mobile home and it's livable, it can be replaced with a new mobile home. I was not aware that this was a replacement.
Did I understand you right, that mobile home that I'm seeing on an aerial here has been removed?
It has not been removed. It is still on the property now.
But it will be removed before you bring another one in?
Definitely.
Okay. So, with that being said, the 1,000-foot restriction goes away, provided it is removed, the old one is removed. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
So it has to be removed in order to bring a new one in, correct?
Yep.
This
Yes.
is not a second residence. This is just you swapping out the mobile homes, or?
Well, it is non-livable right now. There's no one occupying the residence right now.
Oh, okay, okay, but there's no other residents on the property?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay, but then, okay, I thought that it was a second residence to be
No,
added.
just one.
Okay, thank
Single.
you.
Okay, thank you, and I'll second
Thank
the
you.
motion if it hadn't been.
Yes, it does.
And Commissioner Dougherty, you did second the motion? All right, thank you. Any other comment? Yes, Commissioner Randolph.
This is my grandmother.
Okay. Gotta watch our commissioners sometimes. We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote.
Mr. Davis, would you like to vote?
Yes, I would. Tap twice.
Motion carries.
Thank you. ZC 15-04-035, a major amendment to a planned unit development overlay. The parcel is located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 22, west of Trepagna Road, Ward 1, District 4. The parcel is 71 acres. The petitioner, Yenin LLC, Jason L. Yancey, and Brian Intravia. The owner, Yenin LLC, Jason L. Yancey, and Brian Intravia. Representative, Paul Marone. Staff.
The request consists of an amendment of the originally approved setbacks for the garden lots only. Note that the request will not affect the number of lots, the configuration of the subdivision, or the total acreage of the green space. And I'd like to bring to your attention the chart here, which you see what is currently approved, 15 in the front and 10 in the rear. And what is proposed is 10 in the front and 7.5 in the rear, which will allow for a larger building envelope, so a larger garden home to be built on a property. And staff recommends approval for the request.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of Yenin LLC, Mr. Yancey and Mr. Intravia. This particular PUD has 24 garden home sites. We're in the process of finishing up the infrastructure for Phase 1, and accordingly, both Mr. Yancey and Mr. Intravia will also be building some of the units. in trying to put together the plans for the garden homes, it became clear to them to get the unit that they feel like needs to be there with the size they think that would be appropriate. They needed a little bit more depth in the lot, in the building envelope, which is the reason that you see the request this evening. We'd request your approval to amend the setbacks for the garden homes on the front and the rear, as Ms. Lambert noted, and in accordance with your staff report. You'll also note, if you look at the PUD plan, that only one of these garden home lots actually backs up to another lot. All of the others back up to green space, so there really is no impact on anybody, and it'll allow for a better product in the end. So we'd respectfully request your approval of the amendment to the PUD.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Casabon. Any further questions, comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Please vote.
Everyone did it perfectly this time. Motion carries.
Great. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Any new business? If not, we wish everyone a happy 4th of July, and we are adjourned.